Western leaders issue warning against Israel military operations in Gaza. Trump announces Russia and Ukraine to immediately start peace talks. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm SAHIH and you're watching World Today. The skies of Langkawi will once again echoes the roar of aircraft and its surrounding seas be filled with the presence of defence assets from various nations participating in the Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition 2025 Lima 25. The 17th edition of Lima, held under the theme Today's Innovation, Tomorrow's Achievement, officially kick off today with an opening ceremony officiated by Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim at the Masuri International Exhibition Centre, MIEC, this morning. Spectacular aerial display by 3 FA-18D Hornet aircraft and 3 Sukhoi Su-30 MKM fighter jets belonging to the Royal Malaysian Air Force RMAF kick-started the international exhibition. The opening of the exhibition and the RMAF opening gambit was officiated by Datuk Sri Anwar, who was accompanied by both Deputy Prime Ministers, Datuk Sri Ahmad Zaid Hamidi and Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof. Also present were Kedah Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Muhammad Sanusi Mat Noor and Defence Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Khalid Nordin. The spectacular opening act was then further enlivened with a formation and aerobatic air show involving all 25 aerial assets, including 6 Pilatus PC-7 Mark II training aircraft, 2 A400M transport aircraft, 3 C-130H aircraft and 8 helicopters of various types, including the EC-725, AW-139 and EC-120B. The trailing performance was held at the MIEC airspace and was witnessed by thousands of visitors, including local and foreign delegates, as well as people in the surrounding area. The Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition Lima 2025 has recorded a significant increase in the number of journalists covering the event. This reflects the high level of attention and strategic importance the international exhibition holds for both local and international media this year. According to Communications Minister Dato' Fahmi Fadil, the ministry is also focusing on connectivity and digital infrastructure to ensure smooth information delivery and a seamless digital experience for visitors and media.
Pertahanan dan keamanan tu saling melengkapi, ya, tapi masa yang sama pertahanan tidak boleh lengkap tanpa kesaling hubungan, connectivity. Jadi kita harap keupayaan kita menunjukkan di Malaysia, terutamanya capaian internet yang laju, yang murah, yang meluas ini boleh menjadi ikutan bagi negara-negara ASEAN yang lain.
More than 600 media representatives have registered to cover the event compared to around 400 journalists in the previous edition. Happening from 20th to 24th May, Lima 2025 features the participation of hundreds of international delegates and industry players, further cementing Langkawi's position as a key strategic hub in the region for defence, aerospace and digital communications. The leaders of Britain, France and Canada issued warnings to Israel over its military actions in Gaza. In a joint statement, the leaders are condemning what they call rigorous actions by Benjamin Netanyahu's military forces in Gaza. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney criticised Israel's restrictions on humanitarian aid and comments from Israeli ministers suggesting mass displacement of Palestinians. They call the humanitarian situation in Gaza is dire, aligning with 22 other nations in urging Israel to fully reopen aid routes as Gaza faces severe starvation. Israel has blocked aid entry into the besieged territory since early March, but now says it will allow limited trucks to enter. The joint statement accused Israel of potentially breaching international humanitarian law and called recent comments by Israeli officials abhorrent. The leaders warned forced displacement would violate international law and said they are committed to recognizing a Palestinian state as part of a two-state solution. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is calling for Israel to be banned from international cultural events including Eurovision over its military campaign in Gaza. Sanchez drew a direct comparison to Russia, which was barred from Eurovision after invading Ukraine. Speaking at a conference in Madrid, Sanchez called on artists to defend democracy and peace and slammed what he called a silent, equivocal cultural sector.
Creo que nadie se llevó las manos a la cabeza cuando se inició hace 3 años la invasión de Rusia a Ucrania y se le exigió la salida de nada más y nada menos competiciones internacionales y también no participar, por ejemplo, recientemente lo hemos visto este pasado fin de semana en Eurovisión. Y por tanto tampoco debería hacerlo Israel.
His remarks come amid growing pressure from pro-Palestinian groups who want Israel excluded from cultural platforms over the war in Gaza. Last year, Spain, along with Norway and Ireland, recognized a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. And in October, Sanchez urged the EU and other countries to halt arms sales to Israel, as Spain had already done in 2023. Donald Trump announced Russia and Ukraine would immediately start peace talks after he spoke with Vladimir Putin on Monday, despite the Russian leader rebuffing the US president's call for an unconditional truce. Trump framed the 2-hour conversation as a breakthrough as the Republican seeks an elusive deal to end the conflict that he promised on the campaign trail to solve within 24 hours.
Should I tell you about the day first? Yeah. My little conversation with a nice gentleman named Vladimir Putin. But we had a good talk, and I think that progress is being made. 5,000 young soldiers are being killed every single week on average. Can you believe 5,000? Talking to, as I said, President Putin for 2.5 hours. That was being very seriously listened to. We don't like what's happening. We don't like that we should have ever been involved. Would have never happened. But we're respected again as a country. You know, one thing that...
Trump spoke at the White House during a dinner of members of the board of the Kennedy Center, an arts venue in the U.S. Capitol. Trump has pinned his hope on ending the conflict on a personal bond with Putin, even as he shows growing frustration with the Kremlin leader's refusal to do a deal. Meanwhile, Putin said that Moscow is ready to work with Ukraine on a memorandum about a future peace accord and that efforts to end the war in Ukraine were on the right track. Putin thanked Trump for supporting the resumption of direct talks between Moscow and Kiev after the two sides met in Turkey last week for their first face-to-face negotiations since March 2022.
Прежде всего, я поблагодарил президента Соединенных Штатов за поддержку со стороны США возобновления прямых переговоров между Россией и Украиной по поводу возможного заключения мирного соглашения. По поводу возобновления переговоров, которые были прерваны украинской стороной, как известно, еще в 2022 году.
Putin said that Trump noted Russia's support for peace, though the key question was how to move towards that goal. He added that as part of this work, the two countries would have to define a possible ceasefire, including its time frame. The Russian president emphasized that the holding of direct talks between Russia and Ukraine gives reason to believe that everyone on the right track. Ukraine, its European allies, and the United States have all urged Putin to accept an immediate, unconditional ceasefire lasting at least 30 days. US President Donald Trump is raising questions about whether Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis was covering up, saying he was surprised the public wasn't told sooner. Trump's comments came a day after it was announced that Biden, 82, has an aggressive form of prostate cancer with a Gleason score of 9, indicating a serious condition. Speaking from the Oval Office, Trump also tied the diagnosis to wider allegations of a concealed cognitive decline.
That the public wasn't informed, and I think somebody's going to have to speak to his doctor, if it's the same, or even if it's two separate doctors. Why wasn't the cognitive ability. Why wasn't that discussed? And I think the doctor said he's just fine, and it's turned out that's not so. It's very dangerous. Look, this is no longer politically correct. This is.
Oncologists say it's possible the cancer went undetected due to screening limitations even with top-tier medical care. Biden, who ended his 2024 re-election campaign after a disastrous debate performance, thanked supporters early on Monday for their messages of love and support. The diagnosis comes amidst renewed scrutiny of the former president's health during his time in office. Former U.S. President Joe Biden has expressed his gratitude for the well wishes he has received following the announcement of his cancer diagnosis. Cancer touches us all, the 82-year-old wrote in a post on the online platform X on Monday. He said that he and his wife Jill, like so many others, had found that they were strongest in the most difficult times. He posted a photo of himself smiling at the camera, sitting next to his wife, who is holding a cat in her arms. It has been public knowledge since Sunday that Biden has prostate cancer. Biden's office said it is an aggressive and advanced form of disease that has spread to the bones, adding that the condition can be managed. President Donald Trump expressed his wishes for a speedy recovery after the diagnosis was announced, as did former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle. Obama also praised Biden's commitment to cancer research in the post. Biden spearheaded the Cancer Moonshot, a government-wide research program that he launched in 2016 as vice president. Next, 14 missing as authorities halt search efforts following deadly landslide in Papua. Stay with us. Torrential rains have forced Indonesian authorities to halt search efforts for 14 missing people after deadly landslide hit a small gold mine in West Papua. Officials say 6 miners were killed and 4 others injured in Friday's landslide triggered by heavy rains in the remote Arfak Mountains. The mine, operated by local residents, was buried along with temporary shelters when earth and debris swept through the area. Rescue teams have recovered 5 bodies, but bad weather, damaged roads and mountainous terrain have slowed efforts. It takes 12 hours to reach the site from the nearest town. Search operations are resuming today as authorities warn the number of dead could rise. The casualty count was revised from an earlier report of 1 dead and 19 missing. Indonesia has seen multiple fatal incidents at small-scale or illegal mines, often in remote locations that are hard to monitor. Last year in September, a similar collapse killed 15 people at an illegal gold mine in West Sumatra. Another landslide at a gold mine in Sulawesi last July killed at least 23 people. A slow-moving, active storm system brought heavy rain, large hail and tornadoes to parts of Texas and Oklahoma had left 3 people dead as severe weather warnings on Sunday continue to threaten parts of the South Central and Midwest U.S. Eyewitness footage recorded showed a tornado that churned in the town of Arnett, Oklahoma. On Easter Sunday, communities in Texas and Oklahoma were beginning to access the damage wreaked by tornadoes. There were 17 reported events on Saturday, with 5 were confirmed in South Central Oklahoma, including one that inflicted substantial damage on a small town that was still recovering from a March tornado. The storm also brought heavy rain to a broad swath of north-central Texas across central eastern Oklahoma, which saw 5 to 10 centimeters accumulate Saturday into Sunday. Police in Moore, about 10 miles, 16 kilometers south of Oklahoma City, received dozens of reports of high water incidents over the weekend, including 2 cars stranded in floodwaters Saturday evening. Mount Everest saw a historic surge in climbing activity on Sunday, with 135 climbers reaching the summit in a single day, making it one of the most crowded ascents of the spring season. The Nepal's Department of Tourism confirmed all 135 climbers made it to the top safely, calling the number exceptionally high. Officials credit favorable weather conditions for the high number of ascents. More climbers are expected to reach the peak on Monday. May 18 had been designated for a maximum summit plan, coordinated to take advantage of a narrow weather window. After early season delays due to bad weather, the past 3 days have marked the busiest climbing period on the mountain. So far this season, over 200 climbers have reached the summit. In total, 468 climbers from 47 teams, including 86 women, have received permits to attempt the ascent this spring. A judge in Ecuador ruled on Monday that the country's former Vice President Jorge Glass will face trial for alleged misuse of public funds allocated to rebuild areas affected by a devastating 2016 earthquake. Prosecutors accuse Glass, who led the reconstruction effort for Manabi and Esmeraldas provinces after the earthquake, of misdirecting funds for non-priority works. Judge Marco Aguirre said during a public hearing that there were indications that Glass committed embezzlement by using funds intended for reconstruction for other projects that were not related to the reconstruction in Manabi. Glass, who served as Vice President under Rafael Correa from 2013 to 2017, was captured by Ecuadorian authorities following a raid on the Mexican embassy in Quito last year, which led to the severing of diplomatic ties between Ecuador and Mexico. Glass is currently in prison serving out convictions in 2 prior corruption cases. Cattle farmers in northern Mexico are ramping up efforts to respond to a damaging pest called New World screwworm. The screwworm, which can kill cattle or other hosts within weeks, has recently been detected in south of Mexico and has caused the U.S. to suspend imports of cattle, horses and bison from its neighbor. The suspension threatens to increase U.S. beef prices by further tightening already limited supply, while hurting ranchers in Mexico. In the northern state of Chihuahua, the head of the livestock department in the state, Juan Carlos Flores, said no cases of the pest has been reported so far, while the measures are straining the livestock economy.
Es un golpe muy grande a la economía el no poder exportar, y ya más que nada porque, por ejemplo, Chihuahua tenemos ya muchos años trabajando en el tema sanitario, como lo comentaba el secretario, y se ha invertido muchísimo dinero pues para tener un estatus que nos permita exportar ganado en pie a Estados Unidos, y que con una situación ajena a eso, que en este caso es el gusano, pues no se pueda comercializar ganado para allá.
Mexican authorities have invested more than 167 million pesos in the operation against the screwworm since June 2024. The National Agri-Food Health, Safety and Quality Services technical personnel have checked 9,741 cattle shipments, totaling 610,660 animals, in order to prevent the movement of infested cattle to the center and north of the country. NVIDIA said on Monday it plans to sell a technology that will tie chips together to speed up the chip-to-chip communication needed to build and deploy AI tools. The company launched a new version of its NVLink tech called NVLink Fusion that it will sell to other chip designers to help build powerful custom AI systems with multiple chips linked together. CEO Jensen Huang made the announcement about NVLink Fusion at the Taipei Music Center, site of the Computex AI exhibition that runs from 20th to 23rd May. NVIDIA's NVLink is used to exchange massive amounts of data between various chips, and this move will continue to keep the company at the heart of the AI frenzy, which has boomed since ChatGPT's 2022 launch. Alongside this, NVIDIA has been designing central processing units that will run Microsoft's Windows operating system and use technology from ARM Holdings. In addition to the announcement of new tech production, Huang disclosed the company's plan to build a Taiwan headquarters in the northern suburbs of Taipei. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has threatened tariffs to pressure tech companies to increase productions in the US. In sports, the Europa title hit is on for lowly United and Spurs. Stay tuned. Starting off our sports segment this afternoon, national men's duo shuttlers Aaron Chia and So Woo Yik are committed to retain their winning momentum following their triumph in the Thai Open. They skip rest period and return to training just hours after the victory as they gear up for the Malaysia Masters 2025. Aware of the high expectations from local fans following their second title this season, Aaron said they are bent on giving their best in front of the home crowd. Meanwhile, Woo Yik said that their early visit to the venue was crucial to familiarise themselves with the court conditions ahead of the tournament.
So far, shuttle is quite fast lah. So and also windy here. But yesterday they said the aircon belum buka lagi, tapi hari ni beza lagi. Tapi mungkin tournament lagi beza lagi. So kita just well prepared lah. Kita selalu banyak main kat Aziata sini. So just prepared for anything.
The world number 5 will open their Malaysia Masters 2025 campaign against Taiwan's Chiu Xiang-Chie, Wang Chi-Lin. On to football news. Brighton's Jack Hinchelwood sealed a dramatic 3-2 victory against Liverpool on Monday to leave the Premier League champions without a win since clinching the title. Liverpool's boss Arne Slot had admitted that motivating the champions for the final 2 matches of the season was a tricky task, and his fears were confirmed by this sloppy display. Slot's side took the lead through Harvey Elliott's early opener before Yassine Ayari equalised at the Amex Stadium. Dominic Szoboszlai restored Liverpool's advantage just before the interval, but Brighton staged a late fight back as Kaoru Mitoma levelled before Hinchelwood came off the bench to net with his first touch. Liverpool have taken just 1 point from their 3 matches following the title-clinching rout of Tottenham on 27 April. The Reds have lost at Brighton and Chelsea and squandered a 2-goal lead in a draw with Arsenal since their record-equalling 20th English crown was confirmed. They can now look forward to receiving the Premier League trophy in Sunday's season finale against FA Cup winners Crystal Palace at Anfield before an open-top bus parade through the city 24 hours later. Meanwhile, Manchester United and Tottenham will slug it out in the Europa League final on Wednesday in Bilbao, with both sides desperately seeking salvation from dismal Premier League campaigns. A potential €100 million honeypot for reaching Europe's top competition is on the line at the San Mamés Stadium between 2 sides, languishing near the bottom of the English top flight. Ruben Amorim's Red Devils are 16 and with 18 league defeats are enduring their worst top-flight campaign in half a century since their 1974 relegation. 1 place lower lie Ange Postecoglou's Spurs, beaten a club bracket 21 times in the league and on course for their worst season since returning to the top tier in 1978. With both teams fixated on Europe, their plunge towards the table's lowest echelons has only accelerated in recent weeks. United are winless in 8 league games, their worst such run in Premier League history, falling at Chelsea on Friday in their last outing ahead of the final. Tottenham also slumped to defeat at Aston Villa for their 5th loss in 6 league matches. Spurs are twice winners of this competition, but their victory in 1984 was the club's last European trophy, and they have not won any silverware for 17 years. They have reached a maiden Champions League final in 2019, but came up short another all-English battle in Spain, losing against Liverpool in a drop contest. In the Eredivisie, PSV and Eindhoven were crowned champions on Sunday, benefiting from the collapse in form of Ajax, who, having led by 9 points with 5 matches remaining, lost 2 and drew 2 of those matches. Ajax look all but certain to clinch a record-extending 37th title by the start of April. However, they finished off the season with only one win from their final 5 games, while PSV won their last 7 matches on the trot to finish the season a single point ahead of the Amsterdam team. Thousands of signing and dancing fans crowded the streets in front of the town hall hours before the team appeared on the balcony around 6:30 p.m. local time. Hundreds of flares were lit by the crowd when the players finally appeared as the squad led the fans through songs and chants. Galatasaray secured a 25th Turkish title with 2 games to spare following a 3-0 home victory against Kayserispor on Sunday. The victory handed Galatasaray an unsaleable 8-point lead over Istanbul rival Fenerbahce, who have not won the league in more than a decade. Galatasaray will now be able to add a 5th star to their team shirts. 1 star is allotted for every 5 titles. The 2 Istanbul clubs were head and shoulders above the other Super League teams this term, with Galatasaray on 89 points and Fenerbahce, who defeated Yurtspor 2-1 on Sunday, on 81 points. Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen scored the first goal on the 26th minute, followed by Turkish winger Barış Alper Yilmaz 3 minutes later in the first half. Goalkeeper Fernando Muslera added a third in the second half with a penalty, guaranteeing Galatasaray victory in Istanbul as fans started celebrating all over the country. Galatasaray lost only 1 league game this season against Besiktas, and they have scored 87 goals and conceded 31. The side of the US Open will undergo an $800 million transformation, the USTA said on Monday, with a top-to-bottom modernization of the famed Arthur Ashe Stadium and a new player performance center planned for the sprawling Queen's campus. Work at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center will be completed by the year 2027 US Open, with construction taking place in phases to avoid any interruption of the 2025 or 2026 editions of the tournament. The project will be entirely self-funded by the USTA without the use of any public funds or taxpayer money, the sport's national governing body said, calling it the largest single investment in US Open history. The Arthur Ashe Stadium upgrades include the addition of a new grand entrance to the facility, 2,000 new seats to the courtside level bowl, and 2 new luxury suite levels. The stadium, by far the largest tennis facility in the world by capacity, will also have upgraded concourses, dining and retail shops.
What we're doing here will allow us to invest more and more into the growth of the sport. And there could be no better time. As you've seen, as you've felt, right, tennis is having a moment. Tennis participation is growing. Grand Slam tennis is experiencing unprecedented growth. And we focus on continuing to elevate the game and doing so on the world's biggest stage.
The announcement comes 7 years after the USTA completed a 5-year, $600 million renovation project at the grounds. And that wraps up our bulletin this afternoon. In our top story, Western leaders issue warning against Israel military operation in Gaza, calling Netanyahu action as egregious. Do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. on Saluran Berita RTM and TV1 for more news. Or you can stream us live on RTM's Clicks website and mobile app. Till then, I'm SAHIH Samshuddin. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Goodbye, and may you have a wonderful day ahead.